Alice, thanks for joining us. Can you start just by telling us your role here at the club?
I'm the physiotherapist with the women's team.
We're here to speak about 𝐑𝐄 today, of course, and her recovery from her ACL injury. For those who aren't medically knowledgeable like myself, what is your ACL and what happens when you tear it?
So the ACL is a ligament in the knee. It sort of attaches to the thigh bone, so the femur comes down and across towards the front of the joint, attaches to the tibia or the shin bone, and it basically prevents our shin bone sliding forward on our thigh bone and prevents too much rotation inwards. So really important in providing stability to the knee, really important in cutting, pivoting, twisting, so playing game of football. And when you tear it, you lose that stability, you lose the ability to do those things.
And in terms of the severity of an injury like that, in terms of the recovery time, it must be one of the more longer term ones.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the higher time loss injuries. Unfortunately, it's quite a journey from injury to surgery, which is often the treatment they go down, to the rehab. It's also quite an important ligament for the body's position in space and our awareness and proprioception. So we have to do a bit of sort of that neuromuscular retraining to get them stronger and get on top of all that going back. So it takes a bit of time, sort of minimum 9 months, 12 months normally is sort of what we're looking at.
Taking you back to the night of 𝐑𝐄's injury, of course, that match against Rangers at Broadwood, you were able to kind of come to the conclusion pretty quickly that an ACL was what she'd done.
Yeah, unfortunately there's a few signs that normally give it away pretty quickly. So run onto the field, she says she heard a pop in her knee, felt it go. Sometimes they're painful, sometimes they're not. She had a bit of pain initially, but then luckily that settled enough for her to walk off the field, but she got swelling quite soon after, so if you see swelling within 2 hours, that's normally a pretty good indicator. She had a bit of laxity when we did the ACL test, so we were pretty certain, referred her for an MRI, and a few days later, unfortunately, got the news that that's what she'd done.
I appreciate this could be a lengthy answer, but what are some of the kind of big milestones then along the recovery process, besides, of course, the main ones like returning to training?
Yeah, so sort of early on it's deciding what the best treatment plan is. That might be going to see the surgeon, deciding what graft type is best, then having the surgery. Immediately after surgery they're pretty keen to get off the crutches, so making sure they've got good walking and stuff and then they can get rid of them. Then it's a bit of strength work in the gym and then starting to sort of do some run prep stuff, starting to introduce some plyometric type things. Returning to run's normally pretty exciting. They've been slogging away in the gym for a while before that. Once they return to running, it sort of starts off straight line, you start to add some change of direction stuff, and then once they pass a few more tests later down the line, they can start to return to some non-contact training, which is really nice for them to be amongst the squad again. From there, keep going, keep working hard, returning to training with full contact, do that, and once we're happy and we're sort of past all the measures we want, they can get back on the pitch, which is the big one.
I guess for you then, your main role is, of course, to provide medical assistance for the players, but for players like 𝐑𝐄, like Carly, who are out for longer term, is there a kind of keeping morale high aspect for yourself as well? Is that something that you pride yourself on?
Definitely. I think you get to know the players pretty well when they're in with a long-term rehab, and there are going to be downs and they're going to be ups, and I think it's okay to have the downs, so recognising when a player's got that and helping support them through that. And then celebrating the ups. So I remember when 𝐑𝐄 did her return to run, a lot of the girls were out on pitch with big signs for her. It was a pretty happy time. So yeah, of course it's all part of the rehab, but I think being there for them and supporting them, and that's really important.
ACLs are a hot topic in the women's game, but as a club, just finally, what does Hearts as a club do to support players, men and women's side, that are going for these long-term injuries?
Yeah, so initially it's the referral for imaging, the visit to the surgeon, talking through with the doctor, deciding what the course of action is, and then sort of basically physio being there with them every step of the way. So whether that's taking them to their appointments and stuff, afterwards they'll take a game ready home, helping with that swelling and pain and stuff like that. We have lucky enough to have access to Aidan, who's our rehab specialist, S&C. So both the men and the women work with him, and that's really useful for us as physios as well to have his support in getting them back. Of course, we've got Alex, our nutritionist, Alban, psychologist. The girls and the boys will do hydro as well. Keep building on from there.
Georgia, thanks for joining us. First of all, how are things back out on the grass now and needing a return to full contact training?
Yeah, it's getting there. It's been a long time coming to get back on the pitch with the girls. Just in certain sections of training at the moment, but yeah, getting there to full contact soon.
For those who are unaware of your situation, can you take us back to last May, 1st of May, and that match against Rangers at Broadwood?
Yeah, so it was a midweek game Wednesday night under the lights at Broadwood. Unfortunately, 10 minutes into the game, was a 50-50 against striker, landed on my left leg and done my ACL and meniscus at that time.
Yeah, you kind of just explained it there, but what do you remember about the incident itself, perhaps afterwards? I was speaking to Alice earlier. She said that you told her that you felt a pop in your knee as well.
Yeah, I think I knew straight away, although it's something you don't want to believe. With it being so up in the media and all that about ACLs, it's like, oh God, my knee straight away. But it's a pain that I've probably never experienced before when I've been playing football, when I've had an injury. So yeah, I felt a big pop and heard it as well. I was like reluctant to say it because I know what that means. And then the pain you get for, I'd say like 2 minutes is excruciating, and then it all disappears, obviously because the ligament's completely gone. So something I heard before, and then when I experienced it myself, I was like, oh God, like that's actually what happens. And then yeah, walked off the pitch and I was like, oh, I could go back on. And then when he buckled, I was like, maybe not. So yeah, that's how it all went down.
It was such a crucial point in the season, of course, for the team, and you missed the chance to lead the team out at Hampden as well. I mean, that must have just been a really difficult thing for you to have dealt with.
Yeah, that was one of my first thoughts as well. I spoke to Ava afterwards and we were like, that's the worst thing that could have happened. It was the first final that I got to with Hearts, and especially being at Hampden, it would have been so special. But I got a chance to play there in the semi-final, obviously getting through to the next round. But yeah, that was gutting for me at that point.
And I guess, and again, just reiterating that, one of the longest serving players at the club, Hearts' first ever Scottish Women's Cup final. I know you obviously did lead the team out at the semi-final, and you did lead the team out on the day, but to miss that occasion, it must have been really difficult, and you must have had real mental strength to have to deal with that and then ultimately come out the other end.
Yeah, massively hurt at that point, but I think the club were really good at still involving me in that. Obviously at the cup final I was able to walk out with the cup and stuff. Like, everyone just made sure that I was still part of the day, which made me feel a bit better. Yeah, just getting behind the team helped me, just trying to still be involved in every aspect, just keeping on going and all that. Obviously it wasn't the result we wanted at the time, but at that point in last season it was still good that we got there, and I was glad to still be part of it in a way.
Speaking to Alice earlier and saying that while her focus is primarily, of course, on the medical side of things, that she has a role to play in terms of keeping the morale high for yourself as well. It must have been key to have Carly in there as well for the large part of your journey as well.
Yeah, very unfortunate that Carly done an ACL and there was 2 centre backs in the team that had done it. Part of me was grateful that I would get someone in there for that length of time, and yeah, it's definitely helped on the bad days, which there are a few bad days that you're stuck in the gym when it's nice out here like this and you're like, I just want to go out. But yeah, I'd say we've kept each other going. I don't think I could have probably got through some of the days without having Carly in there, and we've bounced off each other, we've learned from each other's injuries, and obviously going through the same thing massively helps. But yeah, it's definitely helped massively for me.
More overall, how have you found the recovery process? Because I guess there must be days where you feel good, you want to try and do a bit more, but you can't, because you can't push yourself too much in case you have a setback. It's a real kind of gradual process, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think for not having a long-term injury before, you don't really know what to expect. I think you just have to trust the professionals when you do have some doubts or whatever, because coming in every day and doing the same thing for a lot of months is brain numbing. But that's when you do have the team supporting you every single day, asking how you are. They keep going if you've not got that motivation that day. But I just think when you love this sport and you've committed so much to it up until now, the only thing you can do is just come in and give 100%, and then you'll have no doubts when you do come back. Because coming back and playing is what keeps you going throughout the whole rehab, I would say, because that's what you look forward to the most. You
did mention it at the start of this chat that ACLs are unfortunately quite a common problem in the women's game for yourself towards the end of your recovery journey now. What would your message be to someone who's perhaps just at the start of their journey?
A big thing for me was trying to accept that it happened, because obviously you don't think you're going to be the one that is going to do your ACL or any injury, long term, short term, whatever. But I think just accepting that has happened so you can kind of move on. That was a big part for me. And just take each day as it comes. You don't really know what to expect, as I said, if you've not been through it before, but just coming in every day and just making sure you're doing your all. When you come back on the pitch, you'll just know you've done everything right. So when you come back, it's like you're ready to come back.
And just finally then, hoping to get back before the end of the season. Is that a kind of good timing or bad timing, of course, because the season's obviously nearing its conclusion just now? So do you look at it as if that's an aim to get back before the end of the season, or is it a bit of a frustration that you're like, oh, the season's coming to an end now and you're only just going to get back in time maybe?
I think at this point I'd take any date coming back. When you've worked so hard up until this point, all you want to do is come back and play. So I think if I was to come back before the end of the season, it's a good aim to come back first to get some game time before the end, so that would be positive for me coming back.
Georgia, thanks for your time.
Thank you.